Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stirring the Pot. We are back for episode 19 of Season 3. And boy, we've got a good one here for you guys. History was made in college football over the weekend. I'll let John take it away so we can victory lap this one. John, what happened in college football this weekend?
It was a beautiful, beautiful day this Monday. The Indiana Hoosiers, after a year of being hated on by some people on this podcast, I might be looking at right now, the Umberskill, have won the national championship in a pretty fun game. One of the better natties in recent memory, taking down the Miami Hurricanes 27-24. Carson Beck, you are not him. Congratulations. And the greatest coaching job in sports history has been accomplished right now. I don't think it's hyperbole, honestly, given how bad the Indiana football program has been historically.
I don't want to actually you, but actually it was 27-21.
Oh,
Indiana won
I need more credit.
Indiana won by 3 more points. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't take that victory lap with more of a victory margin for the Hoosiers. But I mean, what a season from Fernando Mendoza, man. I think to cap it off, that rushing touchdown really showed the spirit of Indiana in that one. And I mean, it's kind of what they've been known for. This is the second time that an Indiana program has gone undefeated and won a national championship. Their basketball team did it way, way, way back in the day. But I believe this is the second time it's been a fully undefeated season in college football, maybe third. I know Yale was, I believe, the last one. Or was it Michigan?
Michigan went undefeated a couple of years
Michigan
ago.
went undefeated, and then Yale way back in the early 1900s. But college football history has been made, and I mean, Curt Cignetti's phone is obviously going to be blowing up with NFL jobs, other college jobs, and I mean, he's going to put his phone on D&D because he's not going anywhere, according to himself. But like you said, John, what a coaching job. The turnaround that Curt Cignetti has given Indiana, and I mean the entire state of Indiana at this point. Obviously, the Pacers going to the NBA Finals, almost winning it, taking it to 7 games against the Avengers in the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the state of Indiana is up right now, and Indiana college sports, I know we've been harping on it all year. It's not basketball, it's football now, and now they're a football and basketball school. So I just want to know your guys' thoughts on this game. I thought personally it was a great game, but 27-21, Indiana stamping their claim in college football history.
I mean, it was a very slow game at first. I mean, there wasn't many points on the board. And honestly, me and brother Laszlo, Braden Laszlo, left the B-dubs because we were bored of the game. And we kind of left I think we left right when Miami got a touchdown, and it was like 10-7. Indiana was up at the time. And then it just went down to the wire. I did not know the game was going to get that interesting. I honestly thought Indiana was going to run away with it, because in whose right mind would think that the 10 seed would even stand a chance against a 1 seed? Though Miami did put up a great fight. Of course, it's a 1-score game. I mean, it was a great national championship. It's refreshing to see a game like this after the past few years of just either been like a blowout or absolute like beatdown. That reminds me of TCU versus Georgia. God, that was a terrible game. But it was a great game. Fernando Mendoza played well. I mean, Carson Beck, he played phenomenal too. I mean, yes, he did throw the pick that costed Miami the game, but he deserves a little bit of credit. I think Miami's defense really came in clutch there at times necessary, really put pressure on Fernando Mendoza. But Indiana, they deserved this win. I mean, 15-0 for a reason. They had a okay schedule for the entirety of the year. Not as credible as some others, but when you're 15-0 and you win the national championship, not many arguments can be made against you. And for Indiana, this is a great win for the state. IU. Now it's a football program.
Yeah, I tell you what, this 2-year turnaround from Curt Cignetti is John, I know we were discussing this, probably the greatest coaching turnaround you will probably ever see. And I don't think it'll ever be replicated, just due to the fact of, obviously year one, Cignetti brought a lot of JMU transfers in. They had a lot of momentum, but still didn't get quite anywhere, like as everybody was saying. But now you start year 2, so you have a 16-0 campaign. You're the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. You were the only team out of the 4 teams of the bye to make it out alive out of the quarterfinal. So, you know what? For Indiana, they deserve all the credit in the world. I think even Miami played a great game. I mean, honestly, their season in general, from what all they had to do, from some saying they didn't even deserve to be in the college football playoff, they showed that they belonged. So that was obviously one of my biggest questions coming into the playoff, but Miami, obviously, showing that they belonged. And Indiana, really close game, 27-21, but 16-0. Kurt Signetti, a CFP national champion, and I remember seeing him, or what was it? It was a quote or something saying, yeah, it would be probably smart if I were retired, but the school needs money. And you know what? That just shows how much of, I guess, how much he cares about this football program and seeing where it is now. And they've been attacking this transfer portal. They might do it again.
Yeah, and I mean, Kurt Signetti and this year for Indiana has just been, quite honestly, a love letter to college football. I mean, it's just been a Cinderella story. Kurt Signetti going from being an Alabama coordinator to going down to Division II IUP, bringing that program up that his dad formerly coached at, and coming back all the way up the ranks, coaching at JMU, obviously, rebuilding JMU. They became an FBS program with him as their head coach, and him obviously making the jump up to Indiana, 2 years, national championship. And I mean, I think this is really telling to see the state of college football right now. There were no 5-star recruits on this team, and I don't think there were any 4-star recruits on this team either. It was all 3 or lower star recruits. This team is so much fun, and this is the beauty of college football that this sport has really been missing, especially with the NIL era, the transfer portal era, kicking it off with this one. This was such a special year, and I mean, this is really what college sports is all about.
It's just, I mean, you can't make a better story right now. I mean, this team, I think, has the most losses in college football history, which is just an insane stat. And you haven't seen a first-time national championship since, I believe, Florida in the 90s when, what's his name? Steve Spurrier was coaching that team. That was the last time you had a first-time national champion, which is just, it's always been kind of the same. Schools kind of going on a repeat for a while. You know, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia had a lot of these wins. To have a team that just no one thought kind of came out of there is really shocking. But you have to give the Hurricanes a lot of credit. They played a great game, I thought. That defensive line is going to be – they have 2 guys who are going to be nightmares in the NFL. And their offensive line, too, with Francis Malagua, who I know RJ is dreaming about on the Browns right now, having an incredible run. There were so many plays in this game where I felt like Carson Beck just had an eternity to throw against a very tough Indiana pass rush. But just a really fun story, a great game to cap off a really fun year of college football. And I hope that in this new era we're going to see more teams like this kind of come out of nowhere with kind of the portal and getting good supporting from the NIL boosters like Mark Cuban did for Indiana. We can see some more teams going to go on these miracle runs and have some more variety in college football in upcoming years.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's talk right now about the NCAA potentially looking at a 16-team playoff instead of 12. That could open up the door to more teams as well. You could see a lot more parity in the playoff. But like I said, this is why we love college sports. These kind of stories coming out of this. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza trying to walk on at Miami, a 2-star recruit out of high school. He got denied going back to his hometown of Miami, Florida, and going back and beating the Canes at Hard Rock. That's got to feel good for him. Obviously, coming from Cal, 3 years there, going to Indiana, and he is probably the surefire number 1 pick at this point. Obviously, me and Dom had a little conversation before about the Jets potentially trading up to the number 1 pick.
I don't think the Raiders would do that.
Oh, yeah.
It could happen. It could happen. You never know.
Raiders could get some good picks out of them.
The Jets are all in on 2027 quarterback class. I'm going to have to wait 2 more years to make my future quarterbacks stink. So
if only you guys would have tried out Jordan Travis for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean...
He died on the football field.
If only you tried him after that.
Jordan Travis.
Trying him out there with 1 leg.
Jordan
Have him looking like Matt Stafford that one play when he...
Oh.
You know what's crazy, John?
Oh, God.
That team was undefeated, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Happened against us. Yeah.
What team?
The Jordan Travis.
They did, yeah, which is why the 12-team playoff is awesome and has too many haters.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, John, I know you were talking about how we could get Francis Magua. He's probably going to be a Cardinal. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he's going to...
That Miami team has
Spencer Fano?
Yep.
I believe that's how you say it. Out of Utah. I want him more, though.
That Miami team has some real NFL talent on there. And they have a guy who I think we saw the emergence of a new star in college football in, oh my God, what's his name? Malachi Toney.
Yes.
that game.
Yes.
He looked unstoppable on the field, especially with that late touchdown going over 50 yards, kind of put Miami right back in the game. He's going to be awesome next year, and I think, kind of taking that spot next to Jeremiah Smith at the top of college football in terms of the receiver hierarchy.
Yeah, I mean, the kid nicknamed Baby Jesus, going out and doing Baby Jesus things, 10 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. It was certainly not his fault that Miami lost this game. And, I mean, you got to think we're watching a lot of future first-round picks. Sorry, not overall.
My favorite player in this game was Charlie Becker. He has been so good for Indiana this entire playoff run. I mean, he made some catches this game where that you just put it near him and he'll catch it. And I just know Josh McDaniels is salivating watching that right now from the New England sidelines, hoping he can get that because he loves his tight ends like that.
I've got a personal favorite in Mark Fletcher. 17 carries for 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kind of put that run game on his back for the Canes. And, I mean, he kind of reminds me of a pro-level Najee Harris, the early Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. I think he's got that kind of burst. He's a bigger guy. And, I mean, I think he's going to be fun to watch the next level. But you got to think we're watching a lot of first-round draft picks in this one. Obviously talking about Francis Maui-Goa, Fernando Mendoza, and you've got a lot of Miami defensive players. Obviously, on the Indiana side of the ball, you've got one of John's snipes of the century in the transfer portal, D'Angelo Pons.
D'Angelo Pons, and I said in that episode where I picked him as my sleeper team last year that D'Angelo Pons and Elijah Surratt would be good players from JMU. I did not think they would be this good, but talk about a guy who makes the most of it's not about the size of the fight and the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. That's how I describe D'Angelo Pons right there. I think he's become this year's player. I think everybody wants their team to draft because he's just that awesome, despite being so small.
Yeah, I mean, heart over height, I think, is the way to describe it as well. But a lot of quality on both of these teams. It's been a really fun college football year. And we are going to get into a lot of college football in the future, so let's go over to the NFL postseason. Obviously, we just got finished up with the divisional round in the NFL. A lot of good games, a lot of very good games. But there was one in particular that was not a very good game because it was not close at all, at any point. The Seattle Seahawks absolutely manhandled the 49ers, and it's beautiful. Because if you guys tune into Waiver Tango, you guys heard me and Braden absolutely breaking down about one of our players on our fantasy teams. He broke out again. Kenneth Walker, 19 carries for 116 yards and 3, not 1, not 2, trace rushing touchdowns for K-Walk. It's been a great season, and I mean, when you see the Seattle Seahawks return the opening kickoff for a touchdown, you got to think the game's over from there.
Yeah, when your quarterback gets hurt, it's just a great decision to have your guy take the kickoff to the house. I mean, that's a great coaching system from Mike McDaniel there. Just, have him take the kickoff to the house. Why even throw the ball? You could have put Drew. You did put Drew Lock in there at a point in time and made Connor very happy.
Oh,
that was just. I think Seattle is the best team left. I think we're kind of all going to be on the same page there. I know we've all liked Seattle for a while right now, but that was just absolute and the playoffs really had. Every game in the playoffs besides this one has been pretty close, I feel like. Even though despite some kind of felt a bit more lopsided than the rest. We'll talk about New England in a second. That game felt a lot further away than it was because of some quarterback deficiencies on Houston. But in the playoffs where all the games were pretty close, the Seattle just went and just took belt right there. They just killed the Niners. And they've been very hard, but they're still a very tough team to get out. It looked like they were playing a D2 school, honestly, with how good they were.
I'm honestly convinced if Zach Charbonnet wasn't in the picture, K-Walk could have had a similar season to that of Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Zach Charbonnet is a okay running back, but he's like the guy who's in the group project who shows up on the day to present, doesn't do any of the slides. He's just there, but he gets full credit. He was just there for those 7 minutes that he presented. You did all the work. Hey, we're going to give Zach full credit. Awesome, I guess. Okay.
And full credit is 6 fantasy points.
Yeah. It's terrible. But, Seattle's great. I mean, I thought San Fran was going to put up some kind of a fight because I don't even know why I keep thinking this, because this team, it's just the same script over and over again. This team just gets like an injury rash, and then that ends up affecting the whole team, and then almost half the original starters are gone. And by the time we get into the postseason, they're just a skeleton of what they started with. Or George Kittle just went down, I think, like the week before, so that's not good. And it's just the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, but my question is, what can he actually do with a healthy roster that's been, completely healthy all year? I don't think there's a time where he's ever had a 100% healthy roster.
It's very rare to get a fully healthy roster.
I mean, let's go like 70%.
Yeah, and I think the one time that I've seen a team go on a Super Bowl run where they've been healthy and every team hasn't been was the 2021-2022 Cincinnati Bengals. They got very lucky with injuries. They had no major injuries at all. All of their star players were healthy, and it's very rare to see that in football. You have to capitalize on that. They didn't, and I mean, I'm going to talk about that for the rest of my life, but they didn't capitalize on that, and I think Shanahan is probably one of the best coaches in the NFL because of his ability to manage those kind of injuries. And I think what we'll talk about next week when we get into a bit of coaching carousel, one of the best people dealing with injuries was the defensive side of the 49ers, who just got a very nice job and a very nice pay raise with the Tennessee Titans' Robert Saleh. I think he's going to fit into Tennessee culture very well, but their coordinators, their head coaching, Kyle Shanahan and his coaching tree have been very good at dealing with injuries, but you just met a buzzsaw with the Seahawks.
I mean, I tell you what, this Seattle defense is nightmare fuel. And I'm not going to say they're like the Legion of Boom because they're not. There's obviously two very different similarities with them. But you just talk about dominating defenses in Seattle, and I mean, you just think about it. You're only holding the San Francisco offense, which obviously I know they didn't have George Kittle, but you still have guys like Christian McCaffrey, you have quarterback Brock Purdy. He's been able to do some good things this year. But McCaffrey only having 35 yards on 11 carries. San Fran's not going to win the game, and obviously Seattle took advantage. Sam Darnold played pretty productive. Obviously no turnovers for him, which is a pretty big thing as well. K-Walk obviously going off. Charbonnet being hurt now. It's interesting because K-Walk currently the number one running back in that Seattle system. But I tell you what, Rashid Shaheed for that trade deadline, just for the kickoff return for a touchdown at the beginning of the game, automatically they won the trade. It doesn't matter because that momentum they had once they got that kickoff return touchdown, it didn't drop the whole rest of the game. And now you're seeing Seattle in the NFC title game. And who knows? If they make the Super Bowl, though, I will give a little petition. Wear the throwbacks in the Super Bowl.
Please.
I think Seattle's one of the teams. They haven't changed the uniform like forever. It feels like they're still wearing the ones they wore in like the Russell Wilson years.
Yeah,
I don't think that they really should change anything. I kind of like their uniforms. Not their lime green. Their lime green color rush.
They haven't worn those in a while.
Like 50,
I think
50.
have they?
I love those.
I think the last time
color rush a bit.
they wore that was whenever DK Metcalf
I was
chased
gonna say,
down
yep.
Buda Baker.
That's my number one memory in those uniforms.
I agree with the take that they should wear the throwbacks because that brings me back to like the Steve Largent era of the Seattle Seahawks, and I mean they're so clean. But I think the most important player outside of the defense for this, I think obviously they got another Cam Chancellor and Nick Emenwari. He is a hard-hitting safety, and I mean it's just so fun to watch him play football. He flies around the field. But I think the most important player for the Seahawks is day-to-day right now because that run game was nothing without Charles Cross. And I think Charles Cross has been absolutely sensational for the Seahawks team ever since they drafted him. But it's going to be fun to see how they match up with the LA Rams, who won a game in the divisional, one of two overtime games in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, which I thought it was not going to go their way for a while. This was a wild game with probably one of the greatest plays I've ever watched live. That Caleb Williams fourth down throw for the touchdown. He was 28 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he was throwing it off balance through it back corner of the end zone. I believe it was to Cole Kmet.
Yep.
I thought it was Colston Loveland for a second. It was Cole Kmet, but what a play. And I mean, you had to think that the Bears had voodoo magic there. They ended up not having voodoo magic because Caleb threw a back-breaking interception on a drive that should have had them go down and win the game and go to the NFC Championship. But this was a wild game. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, I don't get how if you're a Bears fan, you're not super happy about how this season gone. I mean, we're friends with Bear fan Cameron. He said he's like, I don't care. This is a great year. We have a head coach. We have a quarterback. Like, I'm confident in this team. And obviously, like, it sucks to have a play like that. That's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of all-time plays by losers in games before because that's just – I've never seen anything like that. Like, so many times, like, just running backwards like 20 yards and just chucking it up for grabs is just you never see those plays work, I feel like. And it truly just kind of exemplified how the Bears season has gone this year of just pulling these miracle wins out in these miracle plays out of nowhere and just being this really fun team to watch. But unfortunately, Caleb Williams still has some weaknesses at quarterback. He threw some bad picks this game. However, he's gotten a lot better. I mean, I really kind of had lower hopes for the Bears because I thought it would take it probably a year to learn Ben Johnson's system. It definitely did not. I think now that Caleb's going to get even more years in this new offensive system, he's going to get even better. So I think the Bears have a bright future ahead of them. As for the Rams side, I'm very scared about this Rams-Seattle game if I was a Rams fan. They have looked incredibly shaky, really since that last Seattle game they played where they had that crazy Thursday night thriller where the Seahawks won it and just a back and forth, high-scoring duel. Ever since that game, they haven't looked the same. Their secondary has been very much picked apart. Was a weakness at the start of the year, kind of came back mid-season, kind of became a strength. It's kind of gone backwards since. And Matt Stafford just hasn't looked right recently, as you can agree. He's missing throws. He's not being as sharp as we saw him early in the year. But definitely concerns there. But we should get a fun game next weekend with the Seahawks and Rams playing for the third time. They've already given us 2 great games, and I think a third is on the way.
Yeah, I was kind of rooting for the Rams this game, though I was kind of on both sides. I didn't really care who won this game. Because both of these teams don't really make the Super Bowl that often, even though the Rams won like 4 years ago. So it's not that common that you see these two teams go this far. Actually, the Rams go pretty far every year, but somehow they choke, which is probably coming up very soon. But Caleb Williams, I mean, when you have a team that's tenured like this to a gunslinger like Caleb Williams, when you have multiple draft picks, you've invested the draft picks into a tight end. You have Cole Kmet there as well. You've got those 3 receivers ready to go for Caleb Williams. I mean, his ability to evade the pocket and still make plays like he did that one tremendous play, as you mentioned, John. I mean, this team has a lot of upside. This is a team you should watch out for in the next few years because this is something special that they have right here. And finally, the Bears, this is probably their first quarterback, actually, that's been good, historically wise, that can actually throw the ball. And the Bears have everything put together. They just need to find a way to win next season. I mean, winning the NFC North is it's not an easy task. They were able to do that this year. That's a huge accomplishment. I mean, for Bears fans, the last playoff appearance you saw before this was Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. I forget who they played that year, but the Bears, they had a great year. If I was a Bears fan, I'd be happy where you ended up. I mean, you got a playoff win. Steelers fans can't relish that, but good job.
Yeah, Dom, I'll tell you who they played. The Philadelphia Eagles.
Was that the Nick
No,
Foles
they
Eagles?
had-
Which one?
That was double doink.
Yeah.
And then one after that where they played the Saints. I remember that game because Jimmy Graham made an insane catch in like garbage time.
Shout out Jimmy
Which
Graham.
was hilarious. He had like a one-handed
Graham.
grab.
Was that Nick Foles?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
no, that was the Saints. It was Saints Bears, 2020. The Bears.
No, before that.
Before that, it was Nick Foles
Yeah.
Eagles. Oh yeah, it was Nick Foles.
That's anytime I think of the Matt Nagy era, it's just that kick. I tell you what. But look, this Bears team will be back. I don't think they're just getting started, and I think what Ben Johnson has done with the Chicago Bears squad has been honestly really good. Obviously, they went 11-6 this year. I think there's a lot of questions about Chicago that have been answered. They were called. I mean, I've heard it a lot this season, or at least this postseason. The Cardiac Bears. I mean, they just found every way to come back. And I thought they're going to do it again after Caleb Williams hit that, which was, net 40-yard throw, give or take.
I think it was, yeah.
And you just sit there, you're like, Kobe Durant, what are you doing? Like, that's the one thing you're supposed to do. Guard the back of the end zone, guard your man. But I'm assuming you just mistimed the ball. Cole Kmet was right there and obviously took this game in overtime. This was pretty deep in overtime as well. I think it was 3 minutes left when Mevis hit that kick. But honestly, it's that Rams magic. It's Matthew Stafford didn't really do too much this game. I mean, he passed for a good amount, but no touchdowns, no picks. Obviously, Caleb, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's things you think for Chicago, especially for Caleb Williams being a younger quarterback, you can build on this season and potentially go further next year. But this Chicago Bears team deserves a lot of credit. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, though.
They are definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, let's get to one of the more intriguing games. Now, me and John had to take at the start of these playoffs, I know we had this take when we were listening to one of the games on the car ride home, is that the Philadelphia Eagles can look bad and still win. That does not apply to the Eagles. That applies to the New England Patriots because that offense looked weird. And I'm not exactly sure what was going on with that. Obviously, the Texans' defense is very good. Will Anderson ended this game with 3 sacks. You got to think he's going to be getting some kind of record-breaking deal within either this offseason or the next offseason to remain a Houston Texan. But despite 4 fumbles from Drake May, he lost 2 of them, this Texans team decided, hey, hold my beer. I'm going to have more turnovers than you. So C.J. Stroud in this game, I think there's 2 main takeaways. The Pats are a wagon, and C.J. Stroud might not be the answer at quarterback for the Texans. 4 picks and a fumble.
I'm not ready to call the Pats a wagon yet. I'm just not. It's only a wagon. They have looked really shaky in both of these past couple games, and they've really kind of gotten away with these because they've had quarterbacks just throw the ball into their hands for the entire game between Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud. It's almost like they don't even like they're definitely if the quarterbacks if C.J. Stroud maybe threw 2 less picks, which was like a crazy because he threw 4 of them. That's like cut his picks in half, and he still have 2, which is pretty crazy. I think the Texans win this game. But it's just, how can you win the game if you're Houston if you turn the ball over that many times? And the Patriots are going to continue because they're getting we're talking more about the Broncos, they're going to get a backup quarterback next week. It really feels like that we haven't seen the Patriots offense we saw in the season. Drake May has had some growing pains early on. Obviously, it's his first playoffs against 2 really talented defense in the Chargers and the Texans. He'll see a third next week, but I think if Drake May can play like MVP Drake May, the guy we saw at the end of the season, just kind of balling out consistently, and this defense can kind of keep doing what it's been doing, forcing these turnovers, they have a real shot to win it all, which just should pain everybody who hears because we've seen enough of them. But they're taking advantage of an easy schedule. You only play who's in front of you, but I think that it's a very interesting game coming up next weekend with the Patriots and the Broncos in the AFC Chip.
What, you mean a cupcake game? Yeah, but anyways, the lesson learned again with this game against the Patriots and Texans is, essentially, Bryce Young is already better than C.J. Stroud. I think he threw for more touchdowns in the postseason than C.J. Stroud did. Honestly, if we're gonna go there, but I don't know. This team just looks. The Texans were awful. Their defense is from heaven, basically. They really helped to try to bail C.J. Stroud out, and no matter what that defense would do, then Drake May would be like, "Oh no, you have it. No, you have it. No, you take the win. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. No." It was a really difficult game to watch. 2 high draft picks that everybody had hopes for just playing like that, like garbage. But yeah, this game against the Broncos is going to be interesting for the Patriots. I'm really curious to see how this will go against Stiddy.
Stiddy, huh? I tell you what, though, there was a big problem for me for Houston. Obviously, C.J. Stroud is one of them. I'm going to tell you this right now, and this might be a little bit, of a hot take. I don't think he's the quarterback of the Houston Texans next year.
I think we're still a year away from that, but it's definitely,
I think
when your defense is this good, you got to consider it.
I think we're still a year away as well.
I think Davis Mills gets it.
I'll tell you this, he's not going to get an extension this year.
No, not at all. And in my opinion, you should honestly let him test the market, and then you can get him back cheaper if you really want him that bad. But look, it's playoff C.J. Stroud. I was not stunned at all. I thought Pittsburgh was going to win against this Houston Texans team just due to C.J. Stroud. That didn't end up happening. Houston's defense got him to win. And this time, they almost did it again. And obviously, Stroud did have a touchdown, but when you throw 4 picks, sacked 3 times. But look, 4 picks is not going to win you a football game. I don't care who you are. It almost did this time, but trust me.
You know why they lost, though? They ripped a terrible towel. It all came down to that.
Didn't Jared Goff throw like 5 picks last year and they still won?
Yes.
I think against the Texans, funny enough. I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Funny enough, 4 picks actually can win you a football game. Trevor Lawrence.
That's right.
A couple years ago.
You said we were watching
the Waffle House game.
History's repeating itself.
And
4 picks in the first half.
Speaking of the LA Chargers, we'll be getting into them next week because they had a really fun coach come in to be on Jim Harbaugh's staff.
The Best Buy guy?
What?
We'll talk
Geek
about
Squad.
it next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Geek Squad. But, yeah, interesting. A lot of different takeaways to take out of this game for the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. I think this defense is definitely legit. If John gets to victory lap Indiana, I get to victory lap Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter had 3 passes defended. It looked like he was just not letting up anything in this game. But that's my victory lap for this one. I'll take that one. I'll also take it on the chin that I took the Texans to go to the Super Bowl. That one was a bit of a hasty take there.
If only C.J. Stroud could just be a normal quarterback.
If only he couldn't turn the ball over like 5 times a game. But we've got our last recap game, and then we'll go into a little bit of a preview for the conference championships. This one was the real interesting one because we thought Buffalo was going to come back and win this one for a while. Obviously, Josh Allen with a little heroics at the end, but Denver found a way to tie it. Denver found a way to send it to overtime, and Denver found a way to win it in overtime. With the second-to-last play of overtime, Bo Nix broke his ankle. I believe they said he broke it. He's out with an ankle surgery, so we've got the typical New England Patriots AFC Championship matchup because I was given a very fun fact that I completely went over my head. You know who are the only quarterbacks that ever beat the Patriots in the playoffs?
Broncos quarterbacks and
Backups.
Eli Manning.
Backups are somebody named Manning. And they either lose to Eli, Peyton, or a backup. And guess who's playing in the AFC Championship?
Stidham.
Jarrett Stidham, who hasn't thrown a pass since 2023.
They'll never live this down if they win.
This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be so fun. And this Bills Denver game, I was watching part of it in the press box because my color analyst Charlie is a Denver Broncos fan. He's from Colorado, but what a game! And I mean, what a way to end it with that pass interference call at the end. That was pretty obvious pass interference. But Josh Allen crying in the post-game presser, that had to make John feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, 7 years later, Sean McDermott finally gets his pass interference call. A makeup call for the Rams game a couple years ago. Robbie Coleman.
Robbie Coleman.
I was like, what's this? I was like, someone else. The obvious no call that gave us the worst Super Bowl I can remember with Patriots Rams where no one wanted to score. And Rob Joseph Brady versus Breeze. I'll never forgive the refs for that. But Sean Payton finally gets his pass interference call, and the Broncos finally get a big playoff win. But at what cost? I mean, we're going to talk a lot about the preview for this game, but that's just such a heartbreaker. I mean, there should have been a holding call in the end zone at the end of this game a couple plays earlier that didn't get called. That would have just kept Bo Nix healthy, but just such a heartbreaker to lose that. But this was the worst game of Josh Allen's career, I think.
Yeah.
It was just, he looked like the Broncos defense looked pretty weak this game for how they've played all year. They could have easily hung a bunch more points than they did. And just, I think one of the most egregious plays of this year was that end-of-half play where Josh Allen fumbles. First off, why is McDermott calling that play? Which just, it's never, those things have like a 1% chance of working, and you know this Broncos defense is very talented. Second, why is Josh Allen scrambling? What are you going to do, run 60 yards? You're not Usain Bolt right there. And just really just handed Denver 3 points in the most obvious fashion ever. I think Broncos defense is looking a little shaky, but Josh Allen needs to play a lot better. I think as much as we're going to say, like, oh, it's as much as we all feel bad for him crying, some of us do, some of us don't. I don't really feel bad for him because he's too good, and he beats my team a lot. But he was the reason they lost this game, and I think that, we saw some obvious shakeups in the coaching staff after this, some questionable promotions from the GM Brandon Beane, and a crazy press conference earlier today with owner Terry Pagula But a lot of changes are coming to the Bills right now, and I just think that this team needs to take a hard look at where they are, and they need to just get this roster back up because it was just Josh Allen and James Cook and nobody else out there. And one of those guys is playing his worst game of his career. You can't do much.
How about this? Like, one thing that I learned about the Bills and the Packers is the wide receiver committee does not work. It's not a good system. I don't like it at all. Sure, the Green Bay Packers invested with Matthew Golden. They didn't really even pass. His first touchdown was in the playoffs. What? Why aren't you targeting your one? I don't understand that. The Buffalo Bills for the past few years, besides Stephon Diggs, they haven't had a name calling wide receiver
Their one is a slot receiver in
Khalil Shakir.
Shakir.
But
Slot
he's not
guy.
good enough. To me, he's not good enough to be a wide receiver 1. You need another. He's more of a 2 to me. You need another, like, a dominant force in there.
I think he's a 1B, and I think that's what they were trying to get in Keon Coleman. But
See,
cookies.
It's crazy because at the trade deadline, they almost traded for Jalen Waddle, and remember Miami they offered a first-round pick in 2027, and Miami asked for this year, and Brandon Beane said no, which is just such a crazy story. It would be like,
you know what the Bills said to that? They said, "Hey, Brandon Beane, a lot of bad GM decisions. Only 2 Pro Bowlers in the last 8 years.
Congratulations,
you're promoted.
McDermott, you're fired. Get out."
I think that was the correct move. I think that they should have fired both of them.
I don't know about McDermott.
McDermott's not a good playoff play caller. He's one of those play calling head coaches.
It's going to be a big debate next episode, so that's going to be a fun one.
That is going to be a really fun one because there's internal talks at the Buffalo Bills right now that they're going to be potentially getting a former guy that was on their staff for their head coach, potentially. But you could see probably the most important person in their building walk out the door in Joe Brady. So that's going to be a lot of talk there next week. But this was 41 minutes of possession for the Bills and a loss. That is the most Buffalo Bills playoff loss ever. And I mean, it's just so characteristic of what's been happening with Josh Allen his entire career. He's been playing lights out in the regular season, plays one good playoff game, and then right down the toilet.
Yep. I tell you what, though, it doesn't help when you don't sack Bo Nix the whole game. Tell you what, even at extra time, 0 sacks. And that's a problem for me with this Buffalo team. It's most of the time your offense can score 30 points, but guess what? Your defense is going to allow 33 points. And obviously the Bills' offense did give Denver some of these points. I mean, I'm not going to fully go and say the defense allowed all 33 of these points. But I tell you, though, if you get into one of these high-scoring matchups, and guess what? Mile High is a very difficult place to play. But I tell you what, this was the Bills' year to go to a Super Bowl and arguably win the Super Bowl. And you get bounced in the divisional round. Do I think did McDermott deserve to get fired? We'll have to talk about it next week. But I tell you what, for this Denver team, who knows? They might, if they play even somewhat quality football with Jarrett Stidham, you never know. They might have a chance.
I think this was the year that every single franchise decided, hey, it's time. I think it's time to move on from our head coach. And, I mean, it's happened. So we'll talk about that a lot next week.
I think it was a domino effect. I really think it
Harbaugh started it. Mm-hmm. That Ravens decision is what started a large, catastrophic domino effect here in the NFL. But let's talk about Conference Championship Weekend. Coming up is a couple really good games. Let's start out with the first one on the slate, 3 p.m. on CBS. The Denver Broncos taking on the New England Patriots. I haven't seen that one before. It's going to be at Mile High, and it's going to be Drake May's first conference championship game as a starting quarterback under Mike Vrabel. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? Give me a prediction on what's going to happen for the AFC Championship.
Well, this is it's kind of funny how little things change, how all these teams feel pretty new. Look at the bracket, it's right out of 2013 right there, of all these teams kind of being back to where they were that time of year. I really do think that people are going to count Denver out because of their backup quarterback. I think that it's obviously a big detriment because Bo Nix has made some clutch throws, but Sean Payton knows how to win with backups. He won 5 games with Teddy Bridgewater in 2018. He's won with Jameis before and getting him to play the best football of his life. And Jarrett Stidham is a guy who's not like a lower-tier backup. He's a guy who's had success before at the NFL level and was a guy who actually was drafted by the Patriots. There was a point in time, I remember, where when Brady first left Tampa Bay and before they signed Cam Newton, where it was like he might be the starter for him. So he's a guy who knows he's been around some talented people before, but I think Denver's defense needs to play a lot better. They were very shaky last week. They obviously, if the Bills didn't make so many mistakes, just stupid mistakes, they probably could have won that game. But if they can kind of lock down defense, I think they have a good shot. The Patriots have looked very shaky over the past couple weeks. However, I do expect Drake May to finally play a bit better. He hasn't really played like the MVP you thought he would be getting in these playoffs, but obviously he has played 2 very talented defenses, and they've still won in spite of that. But I'm going to go with the voodoo magic here. If you take every backup quarterback's name who's won a Super Bowl, Earl Morrall, Jim Plunkett, WVU legend Jeff Hostelter, Doug Williams, Trent Dilfer, Tom Brady, and Nick Foles. You know what they spell out if you rearrange them? Jarrett Stidham Super Bowl. So we're gonna believe in the prophecy right here. and we're going to take the Broncos to head to the Super Bowl once again.
Well, I like that voodoo magic, John, but I don't think that's going to happen because it's always the team you don't want. So the New England Patriots are going to have it's going to be a really painful game to watch. As it's probably going to be similar to the Houston game, where it's very low scoring, and for some reason the Patriots can't get ahead, but they have the lead by like a field goal or a touchdown, and it's going to be like, I'm going to say the max that the Patriots score is like 20. And the Broncos, they'll keep themselves within the game, but I just don't think Jarrett Stidham has the stuff. I haven't really seen him play at all, but I don't know. I honestly thought their backup was Easton Stick. I don't even know where that dude is. But you know what? The Broncos, though, they do have a good defense. They have a good offense that can help Stidham. I mean, just use R.J. Harvey a lot. You should be good. And your receivers have come a long way throughout the past 2 years. Well, ever since you got rid of Jerry Jeudy, things have gotten a lot better. Who's that one receiver? Bryant? What's his first name?
Pat Bryant.
Pat Bryant. He's had a really good role so far this season. He's been he's been emerging in their offense. So he's been a key contributor. Same thing with Troy Franklin. Just excerpt name there. Not Pat Surtain. He's a cornerback. What's Cortland Sutton? Though he seems like he's old.
Very similar.
Is he old?
Cortland
He's definitely
Sutton.
older. He's been in the league for a while.
I think he's at least like 29.
Is he like D-Hop old?
No.
I thought he was like D-Hop old.
I think he's
like
like 28.
almost out of the league.
Diop was like 23rd. It was only 30.
He's 30.
He's 30.
Okay.
So he's pretty old.
He's getting on the bad end of
getting up there.
receivers.
Yeah.
1,000-yard receiver.
True. Tell you what, he's very underrated. But I tell you what, though, for this game, I think it's going to be, does New England make enough mistakes to keep Denver in this game or no? I think with a Mike Vrabel coach team going into Mile High, I think they get the job done. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, I think this game will still be a lot closer than people want to admit, but I still think the New England Patriots come out top at the end of the day because you look at it, you have Drake May, you have two running backs you can use in Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. I just trust this New England Patriots squad more because obviously what could have been if Mike Vrabel would have just stayed in the Cleveland building a couple years ago or last year. What a time. But I still think the Patriots get this one done. I mean, obviously, if it was Bo Nix here, I'd probably go the other way around, but due to that and Jarrett Stidham, I still think he has a respectable performance, but I'll go with New England.
Both of these teams are 14-3 on the season. Very good seasons for both of these teams. Obviously, like we've been saying, the Denver Broncos are without their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. The Denver Broncos are 8-1 at home this season. The New England Patriots are 8-0 on the road. They're going to get that one-away loss in this game. I'm going with the Denver Broncos in this one. I think that defense is just suited to Mile High. I don't know how Drake May is going to deal with the elevation there at Mile High, and I think the home field advantage is going to play a major role in this one. They're going to get behind Jarrett Stidham, and Jarrett Stidham is going to do what he does best and manage the game. I think their star players are going to have a major game. I think this is going to be the R.J. Harvey breakout game. This is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with Denver in this one. Obviously, I'm probably going to be wrong because I think I went 1 for 3 in the divisional round, but let's get on to the next game. The final game before we get to the Super Bowl, 6:30 p.m. on Fox, the NFC Championship between the Los Angeles Rams and the home team number 1 overall seed, Seattle Seahawks, at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, with the probable MVP quarterback Matthew Stafford coming into town. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
I'm going to keep it short. Seattle's a wagon. Seattle's a wagon. They feel like almost a league above everybody else right now. I think the Rams are still coasting off a very good period earlier in the year. They beat them the first game in their first matchup of the year in a game where Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. But the Seahawks almost won that game. They were a field goal away from winning that game, which is still crazy considering they threw 4 picks. The Rams have had a couple very shaky weeks in a row. They probably should have lost to Carolina. Let Chicago have a miracle comeback in a game that, Chicago probably should have won as well. The Rams just have not had the same juice they had early in the year. Seattle's just the best team left by far right now, and we're going to see we're going to see the ultimate referendum on the Russell Wilson trade right there. Broncos Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I'll get to watch Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, which is going to feel just incredibly trippy. But Seattle's a lagging, man. I'm taking them all the way.
I'm going to pick an ironic finish here for the Rams. I think that they're going to score to get ahead in the game with just enough time to give Seattle an opportunity to score. It'll be like a minute 30. Seattle will score, not giving the Rams enough time to score and come back from the deficit, giving Seattle the win, just like the past few times how the Rams kept winning. The only reason that they won was because they just had just enough time to drive down the field and score and not giving the other team, like, I don't know, probably less than a minute, less than 30 seconds to even come down the field, which is the case against the Carolina Panthers, the case against the Bears. They deserve to lose that way, and I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I mean, for me, this isn't even – I think you can probably see this being a 10-plus point win for the Seattle Seahawks. I think both offensively and defensively they're just too overpowered, and I think once the LA Rams offense kind of sputters a little bit, Seattle's offense will take over, and that defense will get the rest of the job done. I just see Seattle going to the Super Bowl. It's just what I see.
I know I'm one for saving the graphic a lot, but who needs a good graphic? I don't care. We are sweeping the Seattle Seahawks. This Seattle Seahawks team, like John said, is an absolute wagon. They're 6-2 at home, 14-3 on the season. It's been a phenomenal year for one Jackson Smith-Njigba. And you know what's really funny, Dom? Kenneth Walker has 1,000 rushing yards on the year. It sounds like he had an awful season, but he still was a 1,000-yard rusher.
He did.
He did.
Yeah. For many fantasy football owners.
He did have a very bad season for fantasy football owners.
A lot of not so nice notes sent to Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, just so you know, Kenneth Walker's a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent this offseason.
Oh, please leave.
He's a Cincinnati Bengal. I'm just kidding. I'm delusional. But
I mean, we know Mike Brown loves offense.
Yes, he does. He loves offense.
He's an Arizona Cardinal, and his career is over.
But I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks in this one. This defense is legit. And, I mean, their home crowd is, I think, what's going to give them – I think it's going to be both home crowds that give them the X factors in this one. The Seattle team is good enough on its own, but playing at home is going to be the big advantage here. I think Matt Stafford doesn't know what he's getting himself into in this one. High-powered offense versus high-powered offense, high-powered defense versus high-powered defense. The Rams are a little banged up. The Seattle Seahawks are a little banged up. But I think Seattle gets it done at home here. It's going to be Seattle-Denver in the Super Bowl, and we're going to get a game for the ages. But that's going to do it for us for this episode of Stirring the Pot. We'll be back next week talking a little bit about head coaches in the NFL. We're probably going to talk a little bit, get a little college football in there too, a little bit with the transfer portal, updates on that with the coaches. But for now, we will see you guys next week for another episode here at U92 of Stirring the Pot. Peace out. See y'all.